Hello, my name is Abdurrahman Ahmed, and I'm a data and AI specialist here at Microsoft UAE. And today I would like to walk you through how corporations are leveraging the Microsoft AI stack to create and operationalize advanced Gen AI applications. To do so, let's put ourselves in the situation of a fictitious company called Contoso Retail. Now, Contoso wants to create an OpenAI powered chatbot to help their customers find the product that best suits them. However, they want to make this experience personalized for their customers. To do so, Contoso would like to leverage the wealth of data that they already have for use cases for analytics across Customer 360 and Product 360. But plugging this data into a Gen AI application is not a simple task, which is why they are looking to leverage the Azure AI Studio to achieve this. So let's take a look at the Azure AI Studio and how Contoso is starting to tackle this task. With the prompt flow that Contoso created, we have a flow which takes in the user's question and the user's ID as an input. Then we're performing a RAG on two different aspects. So the first aspect of the RAG is on the question level. We're taking the user's question and looking through our vector search to find products that best suit the user's ask. The second aspect of the RAG is on the customer ID level. What we're doing here is taking the user's ID and querying our Customer 360 database, which exists in Cosmos DB. Through this, we're able to get access to information such as the user's previous purchases, their demographic information, and other information such as that. Finally, we take both this information together and put it into our custom prompt. Through here, we're able to put rules for tasks and the safety and how the model should operate. Finally, we get the output which we're looking for, which is a personalized answer created by the model suited to the user's information and previous purchases. So let's take a look at how this looks like in real life. So if we go into the chat flow, we can ask, for example, what can you tell me about your jackets? So through asking this question, we'll push this into the model and see what it generates. So as we can see, the model already knows my name and is able to find out which of the products best suits the question. Along with this, it's using my previous purchase information to personalize the answer to best suit my purchasing patterns. Start playing around with the output of this model. To do so, they want to look at their prompt engineering strategy. Now, this can sometimes be a difficult task that often we don't know where to start. Azure AI Studio aims to make this as easy as possible by infusing Gen AI into the experience. As we can see here, on the node that shows our prompt, we have a little button here called Generate Variants. Now, what Generate Variants does is it uses Gen AI to create different variations of our prompt. This can be useful for testing different configurations and figuring out which prompt best suits your model. So as we can see here, once we select, for example, Azure OpenAI and set up GPT-4, what this will do is that it will use the LLM GPT-4 to create different variations of our prompt. So as we can see here, we've already done this over time. And if we look at our variant, we've already created one using this approach. So we can set it as the default for this flow and start a new chat and see what sort of different output we would get. So if we take the same question as we asked before and put it through the model, let's see what different types of behavior we can expect. As we can see, we got a different output as when comparing to last time. So this is a good way of experimenting with different types of prompts to figure out which one best suits your use case. To figure out which prompt best suits your use case, testing in a chat window is not the most efficient way of doing things, which is why with Azure AI Studio, we provide an evaluation suite to bulk test different prompts, RAG techniques, and other parameters to figure out which method suits you best. So as you can see, we can easily do this by pressing the evaluate button in the top right corner, and we can go and start in using the built-in evaluation techniques. Over here, we can set the name of the evaluation that we'd like to do, and then start getting into the different configurations for the flow and variants. As you can see here, we can test the different variants that we just created using the GPT-4 model. After this, we can look at the different metrics which we have available to us. So these metrics look at, for example, groundedness, which means how well the answer relates to the information which has been retrieved from the vector database, the relevance, coherence, and fluency, for example. So as we can see, we can select which metrics we'd like to use from out-of-the-box built-in evaluation features. Then we can look at updating and uploading, our data set. So over here, what we're going to do is upload a data set which contains a list of questions and configurations which we'd like to test from this evaluation suite. So if we look over here into VS Code, we can take a look at what one of those sample data sets can look like. As you can see over here, we have a sample customer ID and a question which they'd like to ask. And this is actually a very good point to start talking about the extensibility of the Azure AI Studio. So right now, I already have my dataset existing within VS Code on my local machine. What I can actually do here is access the prompt flow and Azure AI Studio capabilities, which we were accessing through the studio. So through the prompt flow extension, I'm able to actually test out the flow on my local machine. As well as this, I can create this evaluation, which I was just discussing. So through running this notebook, I'll create our test dataset and check the evaluation metrics across it. So after running this notebook, I can go back into the studio and take a look at the evaluation which we just created. So through this evaluation, we get at a glance some of the metrics which we have from our data set. For example, the average groundedness, relevance, and coherence. Once we look down, we can actually look at the individual results which we're getting. For example, over here, this user asked me about my hiking jackets, and you can see the answer which I was able to provide, as well as the context where I actually got the information to answer this user's question. And we can look at how the AI judged my answer. We can see that I got 5 for coherence, fluency, relevance, and groundedness. But I noticed over here that my groundedness score was not ideal. I was at a 3.6 points for the groundedness. So let's take a look at maybe where we're lacking in terms of groundedness. So if we scroll down, we're able to see some questions where we're getting a 3 in groundedness. And over here, I can tell that I'm asking about the temperature rating of my sleeping bag. And as you can see, the answer which is being provided by the model is not actually able to figure out what this temperature rating is. So let's delve a bit deeper into the actual context which we got. So as we can see, the Cozy Night sleeping bag, which I just asked about, actually does not mention a temperature rating anywhere here. Now, this is how we can use this evaluation to sort of assess not only our models, but the data which is existing on top of it. This way we can look at this data and sort of fine tune it and make it better for further iterations. That way we're able to solve and answer any of the questions that our customers may be looking at. So let's say now that you've completed your evaluation and you're happy with the prompt flow that you just created. Now you want to consume this with your end applications. So how can you do this? We make this process simple through the deploy button in the top corner. As you can see here, in the deploy button, you are able to configure the virtual machine that you'd like to deploy your prompt flow on. After configuring these machine settings, you're able to deploy this custom flow as a deployment. Through the Deployments tab, you're able to look at this endpoint which you've just created and access and query it. As you can see here by the Consume tab, we give you sample code in JavaScript, Python, C#, and R to consume this endpoint. So let's take a look at the Python code and try to leverage this back on VS Code. After we take this code snippet, we're able to paste this in here along with a custom query that we put in based off of customer ID number 4, which is asking them to tell them about their hiking jackets. We can execute this code and it will query the endpoint in the background to provide us our personalized answer for Sarah Lee.